Hello from Kingfisher, Oklahoma. Today we're going to look at 2 Samuel 13 and 14. Sorry, time for another uncomfortable story. Now, David has been set up on the throne, and now we start to see some cracks moving into his family life. So, there's Absalom, that's a son of David. He has a sister named Tamar, obviously also David's daughter. And there's Amnon, is another son of David. And it's complicated when you've got multiple wives, you've got brothers, but they're like half brothers because they have different moms. And Tamar is, full sister to Absalom, probably, because she's listed as the sister, but then only a half sister to Amnon. And all of these have David as the father, obviously. But so on we go. Amnon is the firstborn, the scripture says. He's from Ahinoam the Jezreelite. Absalom is the son of Maacah. He's like the fourth son down in the line. And Tamar, probably again, daughter of Maacah. So that's happening there. Well, Amnon has a crush on Tamar. And he gets with Jonadab and they concoct a scheme together to get Amnon what he wants, which is Tamar. He loves Tamar. And so they concoct this secret scheme. He gets her alone and he takes her by force. Of course, she tries to resist because that's the right thing. But he's stronger. And then he's angry and he puts her away, probably because he's ashamed also and knew he shouldn't have done that. And then she's like begging that they can get married because that will fix this indecent incident that has happened. But he won't do it. So now he's done two wrong things. Well, Absalom hears about it and is very upset. He takes in Tamar. David does nothing. Presumably at some point he's got to hear of this action, but it's his son. So a lot of times fathers will cover up for their sons and not let justice happen. Rough. So Absalom takes her in and keeps her, and then he sets up this secret plan, and he has his brother over in the guise of having a feast, but then he kills Amnon right there. Well, now he's afraid. Absalom has killed Amnon. Absalom is afraid, so he runs away. He's afraid of David. He's afraid someone will come kill him, but none of those things happen. Chapter 14 begins. David still kind of wants his son Absalom around. He's kind of forgiven and forgotten. And you can see why you might think Absalom was okay. So Joab then concocts this scheme with Absalom to bring him back. And so they hire a woman. She comes and spins this yarn about this, that, and the other, and all to prove the point that David should bring Absalom back in. Well, success, it works. David's wise, he knows Joab's kind of behind this, but Absalom comes back, but not to the royal palace. He's in Jerusalem, but he's got to stay away. 2 years, he's still out of the kingdom. So he's wondering, why? What am I here for? And that's how the chapter kind of ends. So it's like, what is happening here? Why is this even involved? One, we see that his family is a little crazy. David's family is a little bit crazy. And God did say, when we read it our last episode, that the sword was now not going to depart from David's house. After the incident where he had Uriah the Hittite killed, the sword is not going to depart from his house, and here we see it. His own son is killed by another son. And it also, I think, when I see craziness in the Bible, it always reminds me that this is the truth. If you were writing a book about the king's family, if you were writing a book about your own family or your own life, we tend to downplay or leave out things that make us look bad. It's human nature. We want to look good in front of other people. We don't want our worst days on display, like David's incident with Bathsheba, We don't want our family members' worst attributes on display, like this rape and murder thing happening here. We don't want that. So why is it included? One, to show that they're human and that they still need Jesus Christ, even though, David is a great hero of the faith. But two, it shows us that these are real, literal events. Why would you include it unless it really happened? Because there's no way that's beneficial to you for a false story to be out there. So again, showing us that the Bible is real and true, that these are actual events that happened. So it's a great thing to take from it. Let's jump right in. Chapter 13. And it came to pass that Absalom the son of David had a fair sister, whose name was Tamar. And Amnon the son of David loved her. And Amnon was so vexed that he fell sick for his sister, and she was a virgin. And Amnon thought it hard for him to do anything to her. But Amnon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, the son of Shimeah, David's brother. Oh, so his cousin. I missed that. Woo. Cousins, right? Sorry. And Jonadab was a very subtle man. And he said, Why art thou, being the king's son, lean from day to day? Wilt thou not tell me? And Amnon said, I love Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister. And Jonadab said to him, Lay thee down on thy bed, make thyself sick, and when thy father cometh to see thee, say unto him, I pray thee, let my sister Tamar come and give me meat, and dress the meat in my sight, that I may see it and eat at her hand. So this is a big scheme. Amnon lay down and made himself sick, and when the king was come to see him, Amnon said unto the king, I pray thee, let Tamar my sister come and make me a couple cakes in my sight, that I may eat at her hand. Then David sent home to Tamar, saying, Go now to thy brother Amnon's house, and dress him meat. Again, King James just means food. So Tamar went to her brother Amnon's house, and he was laid down, and she took flour and kneaded it, and made cakes in his sight, and did bake the cakes. And she took a pan and poured them out before him, but he refused to eat. And Amnon said, Have all the men leave from me. And when they went out, every man from him. And Amnon said to Tamar, Bring the meat into the chamber, that I may eat of thine hand. Tamar took the cakes which she had made, and brought them to the chamber to Amnon her brother. And when she had brought them unto him to eat, he took hold of her, and said, Come lie with me, my sister. She answered, said, Nay, my brother, do not force me, for such thing ought not to be done in Israel. Do not thou do this folly. She knows. And I, whither shall I cause my shame to go? And as for thee, thou shalt be as one of the fools in Israel. Now therefore I pray thee, speak unto the king, for he will not withhold me from thee. Let's get married. It'll be fine. I'll get married to you, and we'll do it the right way. Kind of. Howbeit, he would not hearken unto her voice, but being stronger than her, forced her, and lay with her. Then Amnon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred wherewith he hated her was greater than the love which he had loved her. And Amnon said to her, Arise, be gone. And she said unto him, There is no cause. This evil in sending me away is greater than the other that thou didst to me. But he would not hearken to her. Then he called his servant that ministered to him, and said, Put this woman out from me, and bolt the door after her. She had a garment of diverse colors upon her, for such robes were the king's daughters that were virgin apparelled. And his servant brought her out, and bolted the door after her. Tamar put ashes on her head, and rent the garment of diverse colors that was on her, and laid her hand on her head, and went out crying. And Absalom her brother said to her, Hath Amnon thy brother been with thee? But hold thy peace, my sister, he is thy brother. Regard not this thing. So Tamar remained desolate in her brother Absalom's house. But when King David heard all of these, he was very wroth. So at least he's upset about it, but he doesn't really do anything. Absalom spake unto his brother Amnon, neither good or bad, for Absalom hated Amnon, because he had forced his sister Tamar. It came to pass after 2 full years that Absalom had sheep shearers in Baal-hazar, which is beside Ephraim, and Absalom invited all the king's sons. Absalom came to the king and said, Behold now, thy servant hath sheep shearers. Let the king, I beseech thee, and his servants go with me to thy servant. King said to Absalom, Nay, my son, let us not all go, lest we be chargeable to thee. There's too many people for you to take care of. Let's not all go. He pressed him, but he would not go, but blessed him. Then Absalom said, If not, I pray thee, let my brother Amnon go with us. The king said, Why should he go with thee? But Absalom pressed him that he let Amnon and all the king's sons go with him. Now Absalom had commanded his servants, saying, Mark ye now, when Amnon's heart is merry with wine, and when I say to you, smite Amnon, then kill him, and fear not. Have I not commanded you? Be courageous and valiant. The servants of Absalom did unto Amnon as Absalom had commanded. When all the king's sons arose, and every man fled upon his mule. So it's like everybody's scared. Oh my goodness, everybody's going to die. And it came to pass that they were in the way, that tidings came to David, saying, Absalom has slain all the king's sons. There's not one of them left. Rumors, am I right? The king arose and tore his garments and lay on the earth, and all his servants stood by with their clothes rent. And Jonadab, the son of Shimeah, David's brother, answered and said, Let not the Lord suppose they have slain all the young men, the king's sons, for Amnon only is dead. For by appointment of Absalom this hath been determined from the day that he forced his sister Tamar. Now therefore let not the king take this thing to heart, to think that all the king's sons are dead, for Amnon only is dead. But Absalom fled, and the young man that kept the watch lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there came much people by the way of the hillside behind them. Jonadab said unto the king, Behold, thy king's sons come, as thy servant said, so it is. And it came to pass, as soon as he had made end of speaking, that, behold, the king's sons came, and lifted up their voices and wept. And all the kings also, with the servants, wept very sore. But Absalom fled and went to Talmai, the son of Ammihud, king of Geshur. And David mourned for his sons every day. So Absalom fled and went to Geshur, and was there 3 years. The soul of King David longed to go forth to Absalom, for he was very comforted concerning Amnon, seeing he was dead. So he's gotten over it. He still wants Absalom around. He's glad his other sons didn't die. Chapter 14. Now Joab, the son of Zeruiah, perceived the king's heart was towards Absalom. Joab sent to Tekoa and fetched thence a wise woman, and said unto her, I pray thee, feign thyself to be a mourner. Put on mourning apparel, anoint thyself not with oil, but be as a woman that has long time mourned for the dead. And come to the king, speak this manner to him. So Joab put the words in her mouth. The woman of Tekoa spoke to the king. She fell on her face on the ground, and did obeisance, and said, Help, O king. The king said to her, What aileth thee? And she answered, I am indeed a widow woman, and mine husband is dead. And thy handmaid had 2 sons, and they strove together in the field, and there was none to part them. But the one smote the other, and slew him. And behold, the whole family has risen against thy handmaid. And they said, Deliver him that smote his brother, that we may kill him. For the life of the brother he slew, and we will destroy the heir also, so they will not quench my coal which is left. And shall not leave to my husband neither name that remainder on earth. The king said unto the woman, Go to thy house, and I will give thee charge concerning thee. And the woman of Tekoa said unto the king, My lord, O king, the iniquity be on me and my father's house. The king and his throne be guiltless. The king said, Whoever said aught to thee, bring him to me, and he shall not touch thee any more. And she said, I pray thee, let the king remember thy Lord God, that thou wouldst not suffer revengers of blood to destroy any more, lest they destroy my son. And he said, As the Lord liveth, there shall not one hair of thy son fall on the earth. So they're referring to the law here, that somebody did this deed and was killed for it. That's where it stopped. So it's not kill, back and forth like an old feud, right? It has to stop somewhere. Then the woman said, Let thine handmaid, I pray, speak one word unto my king. And he said, Say on. The woman said, Why hast thou such a thing against the people of God? For the king does speak this thing as with one which is faulty, as the king does not fetch home again his banished. For we must needs die, as we are water spilt on the ground, which cannot be gathered up again. Neither doth God respect any person, yet he doth devise means that his banished be not expelled from him. Now therefore I am come to speak this thing to the Lord the king. It is because the people have made me afraid. Thy handmaid said, I will now speak unto the king. It may be that the king will perform the request of his handmaid. For the king will hear to deliver his handmaid out of the hand of the man that would destroy me and my son together. Then thine handmaid said, The word of the Lord the king shall now, my lord the king, shall now be comfortable. For as an angel of the Lord, so is the Lord king to discern good and bad. Therefore, the Lord thy God will be with me. She's kind of gilding the lily. Then the king answered and said to the woman, hide not, I pray thee, the thing which I shall ask thee. The woman said, let my lord the king speak. The king said, is not the hand of Joab in all this? The woman answered and said, as thy soul liveth, my lord the king, none can turn to the right or to the left, that my lord the king hath spoken. For thy servant Joab, he bade me, and he put the words into the mouth of thy handmaid, to fetch about this form of speech, hath thy servant Job done this thing. And my Lord is wise, according to the wisdom of an angel of God, to know all things in the earth. The king said unto Joab, behold now, I have done this thing. Go, therefore, bring the young man Absalom again. So she spoke the words, said, look, he did the right thing, killing his brother after this terrible incident. It should be over now. Bring him back. And so that's what they're going to do. Joab fell to the ground on his face, bowed himself, and thanked the king. And Joab said, today thy servant knoweth that I found grace in thy sight, my lord, O king, and that the king hath fulfilled the request of his servant. So Joab arose, went to Geshur, and brought Absalom to Jerusalem. The king said, let him turn to his own house, and let him not see my face. So Absalom returned to his own house, and saw not the king's face. But in all Israel there was none to be praised as Absalom for his beauty. From the sole of his foot to the crown of his head there was no blemish in him. And when he polled his head, that's when he cut his hair, for at the end of the year he polled it, because his hair was very heavy on him, therefore he polled it. So he cuts his hair every year, and the weight of his hair of his head at 200 shekels after the king's weight. He's got a lot of hair. And unto Absalom there were born 3 sons and 1 daughter, whose name was Tamar. So she was a woman of fair countenance. So Absalom has children. He names one after his sister. So Absalom dwelt 2 full years in Jerusalem, but saw not the king's face. Therefore Absalom sent for Joab and said to him of the king, but he would not come to him. And when he sent the second time, he would not come. So Absalom sending for Joab, but Joab doesn't come. Therefore he said to his servants, see, Joab's field is near mine, and he hath barley there. Go set it on fire. Do not recommend. Don't do this. And Absalom's servants set the field on fire. Then Joab arose and came to Absalom unto his house, and said unto him, wherefore hath thy servant set my field on fire? Why'd you do it? Why'd you do it? And Absalom answered Joab, behold, I sent unto thee, saying, come hither, that I may send thee to the king, to say, wherefore am I come to Geshur? It would have been good for me to still be there. Now therefore let me see the king's face, and if there be any iniquity in me, let him kill me. So Joab came to the king and told him, and when he called for Absalom, he came to the king and bowed himself on his face before the king, and the king kissed Absalom. So he's a little squirrely, he's a little unorthodox, but now he's back in the good graces of the king. Well, we're going to see Absalom is going to cause some trouble. Remember the whole sword will not depart from the house thing? It's going to be a problem. So anyway, thanks for joining us. We'll see how this part of the story with David ends. We'll catch you next time.